Who.
Hello, and welcome to Watch Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I'm new to watching Who.
Yeah, watching for the very first time.
Very first time.
And you are joining us here on Zeta Minor in the jungle. It's quite humid.
Yes.
It's quite a hot day.
It really is.
We're standing around a big, black pool of just nothing. Just trying to get a bit of air.
For, listeners at home that want to know our circumstances, it's that Friday that's the hottest day of the year so far. So it really is hot. It is warm today.
Yeah, but we're on Zeta Minor.
That also means that we're warm. But just saying, when we talk about being warm, the struggle is real.
I put sun cream on the other day, though, so I'm not burnt for the first time.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, I actually listened to your advice.
Almost as if there was a product that was designed and made to stop you getting burnt.
Maybe, yeah, called sun cream.
So I use Jason sun cream, like family sun cream, which I use every day. I think it's the best sun cream, for day-to-day use I've ever had. I use it on my arms. It's I think a 30, or maybe it's a 45 actually. I think it's a family one. I think it's quite high because I use it on my face mainly. But I use it on my arms and I'm tanned. I'm not burnt, but I've tanned. My arms are tanned.
Yeah, maybe Professor Sorensen could have gone into sun cream instead of mining. Anyway.
Well, sorry, just on that, what I find interesting, it's so far in the future, but we're still mining.
Well, we might be, mining the moon sometime soon or something. I don't know.
Maybe. It just amazes me that we're they, as people, were still mining, and they believed that would still be the case 30,000 years in the future.
Anyway, other updates. I don't know if you've seen, I don't know, maybe you have been on a Doctor Who Twitter recently, but I wanted to discuss something with you to get your thoughts.
Oh, I don't know what this is. Go on.
Well, so they've been filming Doctor Who, the 60th or special or whatever, in Bristol, and you've seen David Tennant out there again and everything. And I don't know if you saw the BBC announced Neil Patrick Harris.
I did see that, yes.
Did you see the photo of him?
Yeah, he looks epic.
So, this is what happens on Doctor Who Twitter, Doctor Who fandom, everyone, and I'm guilty of this, so I'm not having to go at anyone, but everyone's whenever there's someone announced, they're oh, it's this person, the Master's back, the whoever's back, this person's back, Davros is back, whatever. So that Neil Patrick Harris photo came up, and because he looks a bit like Geppetto, everyone's it's the Celestial Toymaker, he's back. Everyone. And I was okay, everyone says that. You remember the Toymaker, right?
Yeah, I do.
And I'm okay, yeah, whatever. And I was just thinking, everyone says that, okay, maybe he's some toy maker. And then they were filming out in Bristol, and there's they've made a toy shop, an emporium as part of the set. So that, okay, and everyone's going mad, it's the toy maker's back. Everyone sort of always jumps to those conclusions. And I'm always a bit okay, maybe they're just writing another style character. It doesn't mean it's the Celestial Toymaker. But on some of those filming pictures, there's these big sort of clown sort of silhouette things up there, and it's exactly the same picture as one of those clowns from that first Doctor story. So do you know what? I think it actually is the Celestial Toymaker back.
Would that be a massive deal? Because I didn't think that story was as big as the 60th to be we're now going to bring back this character from 60 years ago that not a lot of people will know.
Well, he could be reinventing it and everyone's going to go Toymaker mad. That's what I wanted to say to you. I was we really did not like that story. And imagine if now it's going to be But actually, my other theory, okay, this is me just joining loads of dots up, right? So, back at the 50th, they announced they'd found the Web of Fear and Enemy of the World, right? The Yeti and the Underground one. That had obviously been found a little bit before, and it was all kept quiet, and they wanted to launch it for the 50th. And Stephen Moffat, who was running Doctor Who then, he had known about it. And actually, the Great Intelligence does come back in a Christmas special around that time, and it's a bit of a theme. And he put that in there because he'd known that had been found and was, coming back. So there's also rumours that William Hartnell's story had been found. So what if, okay, Russell T Davies knows about that and is putting the toy maker in, it's happened before as a thing. And then suddenly the toy maker is going to be announced back, as returned for the 60th, and they might be holding it off. Who knows? That is my personal theory.
That's interesting.
It's adding lots of dots up, but everybody in a year's time or whatever, come back to this episode and we'll see. We will see if I was right. Maybe it is the toy maker and the celestial toy maker has been found, or probably the more realistic option is he's playing someone completely different that just happens to be a bit like a toy maker. Let's just hold on for the toy maker resurgence, everyone.
I've not been on Doctor Who Twitter for a bit, so mainly because there's so much happening and being announced, I'm really worried about any spoilers, even though it's way in the future. But I'm not allowed to know about things because Mark gets upset, so I have to be really careful what
I know, I just thought it was just unusual, so I just wanted to share toy maker stuff.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But I had seen that he was back because I'd seen that got shared a lot and people sent it me and stuff. That was exciting. But I hadn't seen all that. So that's interesting.
Should we go into today's episode then?
Yeah, I think we should probably start it before we talk any more random shit.
We should start. Now, Planet of Evil. So we are peak Tom Baker season at the moment. Everyone knows who he is. His previous season has gone out. So I think Terror of the Zygons last week was filmed at the end of the last lot. So this is they've had a break. They're back. New season because Harry's gone now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of Doctor Who stories, in terms of fan, I know I'm talking for all the fans right now, but there's always
And we know where that leads, Mark.
Well, certain stories,
anger,
just have this sort of shorthand, I suppose. And Planet of Evil is always atmosphere and the jungle is amazing. The best jungle in Doctor Who. That is what comes up.
I read about this after. I read that apparently the BBC was super impressed with the guy that made the jungle, but then and it's just as well because it cost them thousands to take down and destroyed set because it was almost unable to come down. He built such an incredible set.
Well, you've got it in the studio, but you've also got it on film, and that's where it looks amazing because they went to I think Ealing Film Studios to do all that because they've got the water on the floor and everything. So whenever there's water or something like that, they go on film out of the studio for a bit. Even in the studio, it looks amazing because we've had a lot of jungles.
We've had a lot of jungles.
I agree that this is because they haven't gone for your green jungle like in Planet of the Daleks. They've gone for these sort of alien colours. It feels like a whole planet. So what I want to know is, were you impressed by the jungle?
I was, yeah. It felt like a proper jungle.
Okay, great. There we go.
It was an interesting one because there was quite a lot I liked about it and some bits that were a bit but I enjoyed this more than last week's.
Yeah, I've been in a bit of shock that you didn't like Terror of the Zygons. Well, okay, I'll start going.
The monsters element, I think, because it's very Jekyll and Hyde, this sort of the scientist that drinks the potion or whatever and goes between these two things but doesn't know who he is sort of thing, but then does know, that sort of idea. And I like that because considering it's such a classic concept, we've not had that really before, have we?
No, it's something different. But a couple of returning things. So we haven't seen the inside of the TARDIS for ages. This is the first time with this Doctor's been in the TARDIS. It was
really bare. It was so bare. I couldn't believe how empty it felt.
I think it's a bit of a more spacious set because I think last time was
See, I thought it felt quite big because it's a lot lighter than I remembered. It used to be very grey and it felt more light, almost white.
Yeah. So it's nice to see the Doctor actually in the TARDIS for once. And also, there's a couple of, just going into the side characters, a couple of actors that we've seen before. So I don't know if you recognise. So the younger guy who was in charge at the beginning.
I'm the commander. Yeah, he was a dick. Yeah, go on. Who's he?
He was Dick Thal in Planet of the Daleks.
Excellent.
So this is the guy that I met at that convention. I said, "Oh, you always play those characters," and he does. He's exactly the same.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. He was so annoying in this.
But then he said, "Oh, in this one, I'm the good guy. I'm all right." That's what he told me.
Was he thinking the same story? He like shoots one of his own men and runs off. Like, what planet is he on that he thought he was quite good in this?
I know.
But the good guy is what I'm trying to say. He was good. Because you need to hate him. Like, he's good because you're like, ugh.
There is always a dick, and it's always Prentice Hancock that plays him, apparently. So,
Someone's got it in for him at the BBC and cast him.
yeah, I wasn't sure if you'd recognise him or not. Also, we've got the Professor.
Right.
I don't actually know. You're not going to remember this. I didn't really. I had to look this up. Do you remember the Savages? The one where Stephen left.
Oh, yeah.
And there was that guy, and he sort of swapped the minds with the Doctor, and that he took on the Doctor's mannerisms and stuff. That's him. That's the Professor in this one.
Would never have guessed that. Would never have seen that. But I've seen you before. But yeah, I remember that. I remember all that because that was a really good story.
Yeah, so that's him, and the older guy on board as well. That's
Love
sort of
him.
like the good guy. He's great. He's also in the Savages. He's the guy in the Savages that's all made up old. I don't know if you remember that.
Now, hang on. I'm confused because I think I'm on about this. I've got the same person in my head, but I don't.
Right. Okay.
Was he a savage?
He was a savage.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he
I'm
had all
thinking
the
of
big
the
beard
other
and
one.
stuff.
Yeah. No, I remember him now. I remember him.
Yeah, so he was a savage made up. So there's 2 returnees for the Savages in this as well. So there you go. There's your facts. That's a lot of facts.
That is a lot of facts.
So we start off with part 1. They answer a distress signal. So that's
even though they're 30,000 years off.
Yeah, even though. Clothes watch. What do you think of Sarah's outfit?
Love it. I was waiting for this. I loved it. Oh my gosh. I loved it the whole time. I wish I had it.
I knew you would. I knew it.
It was great.
Did you see her shoes? They were. I thought that was a bit odd because they stopped at sort of just before the ankle, the trousers, and then she had to sort of like wedge shoes on.
Oh, did she? I didn't notice that. I was all about the top half. I was all about the top corset denim thing that somehow someone at the BBC was like, yeah, this will be fine for a kids show. And then her denim trousers. I was like all over that.
Yeah, she has some great outfits in this. And it's sort of blue, fitting with all the space people. The only problem, the clothes watch issue I have here is all the space people. I don't think they suit that dippy.
So it's quite a low dip. So when I saw it to begin with, I looked at it and I thought, I bet they didn't realise. Like they might have seen sketches maybe, and then they get them and they're like, that's a bit lower than I thought. Because it's just, I'd say maybe like an inch too low.
It doesn't really suit them, does it? No one's really got the physique to fit in them, have they?
Yeah. So apparently, just from my reading, the set, so just come back to the forest segment, they wanted to make it different because they wanted to compete with Star Trek.
Right.
Like, because they knew that was popular with the kids. And they also had weird location jungle things. And I wonder whether those costumes were supposed to be compete with Star Trek.
I haven't done it. Well, it didn't work. That dippy bit, no.
If you think of like William Shatner in that sort of outfit at that time, was he in the 60s one? I feel like he was.
Yeah, he was. He was.
So like, a young William Shatner in that, it'd be a completely different outfit. So I feel like they've sort of taken some influence from that because they feel quite Star Trek-y actually. When I sort of read about the Star Trek thing, and now we're talking about costumes, did you feel quite Star Trek-y? That uniform element.
All the uniform, yeah, it's just, they just needed a bit of that just needed to be covered up. And actually, talking about the set of that spaceship, I don't like that glass table. There's like a balcony with a glass table. That is not, and there's nothing. You could have your pens and your paper up there driving the spaceship. It'd just fall over the balcony onto someone's head. And a glass table when you're going around in space, that is just, someone's going to go through that. I was just like, that is not.
In my head, again, that was like a touch glass thing. So it's supposed to be all future.
Oh, no, well, they could, actually, they shot through, the camera was up through it. I don't know if that was the idea, that you could do that and it was on the level. It's quite, we don't really have stuff on 2 levels very much.
We've
they
not
are trying.
had something like 2 levelly. The last famous 2 level one I can think of is the William Hartnell's, his last one.
10th Planet. I cannot. How are you remembering that? Are you like reading like technical manuals or something?
No, I'm
What's
all over
going
it.
on?
Unfortunately, I am all over it.
Well, this director is great. He did The Mind Robber. He did Genesis of the Daleks last season. He's done a lot of good ones. So it's it's really well shot and designed. I think
It's a really strong like team. You can tell.
Oh, and also, I can't remember. I think he dies halfway through, but there's another younger guy who's on the ship who has a bit of a maybe he's in the first couple of episodes, and he played Davros. It's him again. He's one of the spaceship people. Yeah,
Get him in everywhere, don't they?
Yeah, so he's in like every story. He pops up as something else. So they're investigating. They're going through the jungle, and it's all very atmospheric. Do you think Sarah's character, just going to that, she's very settled in now.
Yeah.
Because she's, in her third season. Do you think it was out of character where the Doctor sort of sent her off to go and get this spanner thing from the TARDIS, and off she goes? She's very confident in this, do you think?
Yeah, but again, it's been 3 seasons. She's been doing this a while. I'm glad we're not still at the stage of like talking it out, talking it through, all that. Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit with Ian and Barbara, and towards the end they were just getting on with it.
I suppose so, yeah. But when they get captured in part 1, the Doctor's they're in that cell, and Sarah's like, "Well, come on, then let's get through the window. Let's go." She's the one that's like, "Let's get on with it. Come on."
I quite like that though, because we've not had like she's been doing these for, like you say, 3 seasons now. She's been through a lot, and it fits her character. She's a journalist, so like she would be inquiring a bit more, looking out for these sorts of things.
Hopefully she got that Zygon thing typed up from last time and put in the post before she ended up on this planet.
She did say to him that it was about half an hour, then he still hadn't landed. So I presume in that time she was having a type.
She's doing that ready. But no, I just thought, yeah, she's really settled. And it's interesting now there's no Harry, that we've got the 2 of them now. I think that's made the difference in this.
Yeah, I agree. I think that she takes on what Harry would have been doing as well.
So I think this is a really good one for her, and I think Elizabeth Sladen who plays Sarah, said this is her favourite story. This is her favourite story to do. And imagine acting that as well. You're not in the studio all the time. You've got this huge actual jungle in front of you to act in with water, and you're going through and everything. That must be so much better for the actors to do that.
There's a lot of actually, I'm just really jumping around here, but there was some really nice moments that like the very, very, very end when the TARDIS was flying off and it was spinning, and that's the first time I've seen that.
Joe, I made a note. I don't think we've seen it spin like that before.
We've seen it move, but we've never seen it spinning like that. And actually, if I think of modern, that's how it always appears in things, spinning. So I think it's the first appearance of it spinning in space.
Let's say that. People will tell us if it's not. I mean, we've had it on like a lolly stick, haven't we, going through?
Yeah, we've had it moving statically, but we've never had it doing that. And I was like, oh, that's so iconic. I really picked up on it because I'm like, that's so iconic. And there was a few, I can't remember the other one. It might come up when we're talking, but there's another thing, and I was like, that's really clever and cool.
When we get to the end of part 1, we see the monster, the sort of antimatter-y thing.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool how it was done. I kind of like, the whole green screen thing. As a monster, it doesn't feel that threatening because you can't see most of it. I guess that is sort of the threat, but equally, I thought it was really cool how it was done.
Because, you didn't like the Zygons, someone in a suit isn't always particularly great. But I just thought, okay, there's this cool visual effect, and we've not seen anything like that before, because it's sort of this see-through thing. They're still trying new stuff, and you don't really know what it is as well. It's not like it talks or anything. I like that it doesn't talk.
Even now, I've finished it, I still don't really know what it is.
No, well, it's sort of like something in a... Okay, let's get to the big concept here. So the idea is Oh God, they're mining this planet. They're taking this stuff. All the professor's been down there, and people have been dying, haven't they? Because he's really really obsessed with taking this stuff, which I think looks the antimatter crystally stuff, which looks like resin to me. You know, oh, is it called resin? You know, I used to have that when I played the violin.
Oh yeah, that
and
is
you
resin.
Put it on your bow. You put it on your bow. Yeah,
Yeah, that's resin.
it just looked like crushed up resin. I think he's
So
that's what it is. I think the idea is they're trying to take this away, and the planet doesn't want them through that big hole thing. Is like some antimatter sort of other university thing where the sort of heart or the planet is basically a living thing, and it doesn't want this stuff taken away from it, so it's pulling it back. I think that's the idea of it. But then the professor gets so obsessed, doesn't he, that he sort of drinks it, and he's been on that planet for so long it started affecting him.
yeah, he's taken it on, and by doing so, the effects of it have merged with his body. He's. I think having is it that something's been affecting him, and he's been taking the antimatter to try and stop the effects, and that's been.
I think he's just been on the planet too long, and he's ingested it because he is they had to take him off, didn't they? They had to take him away to make. He was the last bit. They threw everything out, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the antimatter man, and then Dickhead made a million of them by accident. But it's funny that you said Jekyll and Hyde. It's so obviously Jekyll and Hyde. I don't really know Jekyll. I mean, I haven't watched any films of Jekyll. Everyone knows the story. All I know is that he makes a potion and he changes into one person, and then he changes back again. I don't actually know the official story of Jekyll and Hyde. It's not really one that I've.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, he believes that he can separate good and evil.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Ah.
So he drinks this He thinks he can't get permission to do it on someone. They say ethically it's wrong, so he can't test it. So he does it on himself and unleashes Mr. Hyde, which is the evil side. So there's him, which is his good side. He drinks this potion. He then becomes Mr. Hyde, goes out. I think he kills people, comes back. He has no real recollection. And I think he has these diaries. I could be wrong at this point. I think he starts writing things down, and he's writing things down in Hyde as well. And then he starts being able to communicate between his two selves. And there's, people, they talk about this terror and these murders, all this sort of stuff. And it's him, but it's the evil side of him. And I think in the end he dies. It's not like he goes back to normal. I think it's done, and he ends up. I think he has to kill himself to kill Hyde. I think.
I feel like the BBC did a modern version of it.
There's many versions. I mean, I've seen the musical years ago.
I was literally about to say, I bet you've seen the musical version of it.
Yeah. It's got great music. The musical's got really good music. Just it's a shame whenever it tours with really random. I think there's a new one of it at the minute with Jason Donovan playing Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong.
I'm going to look that up.
It's always people that you like. You're like, what is that casting?
I saw Jason Donovan in Sweeney Todd. That was a bit strange. That was the last time I saw him. But anyway, yeah.
I feel like, I could be wrong, I feel like the Hoffer's done it as well.
I don't think David Hasselhoff could play Professor Sorensen, though. That's what I would like to see. Anyway, we're going into part 2. I like as well that with Sarah, it's just that sort of sense. There's sort of the noise and the wind that passes through, which is the presence of the whatever it is, and she can feel it. And I like that sort of mystery. What I really liked in part 2 was that drone thing. You know, when they escape and they send out the drone thing, the little eye thing that goes through the forest. I thought that was really cool. For Doctor Who on TV, that is what you would see in Star Wars. Something exactly like that.
Yeah.
In fact, I think... sorry, Star Wars...
Star Trek, you mean?
This is Star Trek. Star Wars hasn't been out yet.
No.
But yeah, you would see that in both Star Trek and Star Wars. And for Doctor Who, I know, again, it's on film, and that... for some reason, when stuff's on film, it makes it look even better. But when it's following them through, it's such a great idea. And again, predicting the future and stuff, that could be delivering someone's Amazon thing in reality. You know, like Amazon on Zeta Minor. It's there, isn't it?
They're the ones after
Well,
the
it is. It's
antimatter.
true.
That's what it is. We just don't see the A on their outfits, but it's there.
Yeah, one click antimatter. And also, I like their guns. So when they're shooting, it's like a blue flash. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I did notice.
Yeah. Because when we were talking about Revenge of the Cyclone with those Vogons underground, and it was just like bullets, bang, bang, and you're just like, oh, it just looks like people in masks with guns. Here, it fits with the blue. It fits with the same blue as the uniform. It's got a colour scheme.
I genuinely think that it was to try and get the Star Trek audience, the kids that were starting to be interested in Star Trek. That I reckon it's that, because those guns as well are very futuristic.
I don't know. Someone's just really thought about this whole world and just all the design of it fits together. And then towards the end of part 2, then we get another cliffhanger freeze frame where the Doctor's falling in the hole.
Yeah.
Oh, I love those, and it's the same director as Genesis of the Daleks, so that's why you get that. He always does those freeze frame ones. I think we should have more freeze frames. I think every cliffhanger should be a freeze frame.
There's some really good cliffhangers in this.
And we'll talk about cliffhangers. The next one where the Doctor and Sarah are going to be ejected into,
when they're moving.
Yeah, that's so good. You would definitely be tuning it. Yeah, it's just got that pace. I mean, when I watched it, I pretty much watched it. I watched 3 and then I watched 1. But again, a bit like last week, it just went really quick because there's just so much happening and it's building up. And sort of as you carry on, it turns into a bit of a murder mystery, doesn't it? Everyone's been sort of murdered. The ship's people have been murdered one by one. Even when the Doctor goes through the hole and it's all like psychedelic and stuff, that's cool. And of course, we have Dickhead Captain. He's great. You need someone like that. You need the Dickhead Captain that's going to be like, no, we should do this. And then I'm going to say his name because he should be up for a Oscar at some point. Wyszynski is the older guy that you liked.
Yes. I'm all for Wyszynski.
Because he listened and he was obviously on the Doctor and Sarah's side. He knew.
He was older. He came with the knowledge of being able to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, and without him, it would have been even worse, I think.
Because what was the scientist called? Was he Salamander?
Sorensen.
Was anyone Salamander? Why have I got Salamander?
That was Enemy of the World with the Second Doctor's double.
Yeah. So what? But the commander. What was his name?
Salamar.
Salamar.
Oh, close. There you go.
I knew it wasn't Salamander, but I had Salamander in my head. Salamar.
Yeah.
And then you've got they both began with S. And what was the scientist? Sorensen. Oh my gosh. And then Sarah. There's just too many S's
going on here. And when what's his name? And when Salamar goes off, and he makes it worse, of course, because he has that light beam thing or whatever. I don't know what it is. Some YouTuber's light. He has that. He takes that, and they're like, "Don't use it." And he's like, "Oh, of course." And then that's when he dies, and he uses it, and they all duplicate, so you get that cool effect.
Multiply, yeah.
I really like that, and they're just all around, and the way that it's sort of creeping around the ship and killing people. You get that claustrophobia as it sort of closes in and in and in.
I just don't understand how it got on board.
Well, it's Sorensen.
Of course.
It's him.
Because I was like, it didn't get on board, but something did. And it's like, it's a version of Sorensen.
So it does that. And then it's the line people, and they can go through doors and stuff, and there's all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought it was really... Yeah, and actually there are...
It is, the effects are really cool. I think, it works very well as a secondary villain.
Okay.
Well, it's not the main villain. The main villain is the scientist, who's the other S.
But it's all sort of wrapped up as the same thing, really.
It is, but it's not. As in, I feel, like you said, I think, there's the planet and those things, and because he's been taking it, he starts becoming that, but I don't think he's meant to be that.
Well, I think that light thing makes it even worse, so it makes him... Well, yeah, but it
brings out the dark matter, and obviously these are dark matter things. Because the Doctor says that he made a promise with whatever that being is, that he would return all the dark matter.
I want 10 seconds of maximum fuel burn.
That's crazy.
You heard me. 10 seconds.
Gravity drag still increasing. Height only 30 miles.
More than gravity. There's antimatter still aboard.
All the canisters were removed.
Except for this.
What's that?
Antimatter. How else do you think I survived that pool?
Yeah, and then he forgot because he had some in his toffee box, which you've got.
I know. Oh my gosh. Honestly, when I saw it come up on the screen, I was like, I've got that and I've got it here. So this was my granddad's. So this is like really old. And when my granddad died and my dad was sorting out his house, and I was obviously sad, and my dad came back and was like, this was granddad's. I thought you should have it. And it's a really old tin, but it is, you can see on it, it says Harrogate Toffee. And it's the same tin. It normally has shit in it, but it's completely empty at the minute. But it's had everything in the years. It's had hair bubbles in. It's had clips in it. It's had tablets in it. And I still have it. And it's just like, also, there's quite an irony in that this really old box. So my dad obviously just saw what is essentially just a toffee box, a tin. And my dad was like, hey, Sarah, she's female. She'll probably store things in it. He's not wrong. I still have it. It's been all the way down. That was when I was 11, 12 when my granddad died. So I've had it all this time and it's made it to Cardiff.
Wow.
So yeah, no, that's my granddad's
And that's like a
tin.
genuine one, because I think you can get sort of replica-y type ones that aren't, but
No,
that
this
is
is
an
a
actual
genuine. It's all
one.
rusted
Yeah,
and
that's
everything.
an actual one.
And it's like, yeah, it's definitely one because it's really rusted.
That's an unintentional prop.
And old.
Well, yeah, so the Doctor has one of those, so he throws that out. But then I think, but then it still doesn't work because Sorensen, he's drunk it, it's in him. So, and he is it, so he has to go. Yeah, I think some fans do find this one a little bit boring sometimes. I think they feel like it's all atmosphere and no actual substance of plot.
I can get that. Yeah. Like, I felt like what happened in the 4th episode, there's a little bit of padding. Not much, but like, I was like, I don't know what this is adding. And actually, it could have even been a...
Well, what pads it out is the whole, oh, you're spies, Doctor and Sarah locked up, we don't trust you, yeah, escape, capture, all that arguing, and that's what the captain does a lot of, we can't trust them, they're the ones that are doing it, they're the ones that are behind it, no, we're not. That is what doesn't... I always find that boring whenever they're like, you're spies.
You've killed the Han.
No, listen, sir.
No! They killed the Han! Something killed the Han!
Just like, I've remembered what line it... So it was when he talked about you at the end of your elastic.
Oh, yeah?
I like that line.
All right, okay. You're at the end of your elastic.
That was the other bit that was like, I really like that. I like that. And I like, and it felt really atmospheric, him saying that. All that stuff where he was in the last one where he's like, I'm going to win, I'm going to do this. And I was just like, this could have been sorted at like end of episode 3, really. Like this is a lot of bits of padding. And there were things in that 3rd episode where I was like, they're just padding. And if you'd taken out some of that and condensed that story to just, because by then they knew that he was the baddie and we could have had the Doctor just get him in the TARDIS and do what he did and had that ending. Instead, we had to pad it out for another episode. And then, and it's cool because they had, you had the multiple things. But I didn't see them as the main villain.
Well, what did you see?
The main villain to me was the scientist.
Oh. We both said completely opposite things.
Well, as in, like, in terms of monster villain and like for the story.
But he's taken over, and then when the Doctor...
Yes, but he knows to some extent that something's not right. He keeps trying to hide it. If he'd have been up front from the start... He's
dodgy to begin with.
And it takes the Doctor being like, you're a scientist, you know what you've done. I know what you've done. You know what you need to do. And then he goes into the coffin to try and get himself into space, doesn't he?
Oh, of course. So, yeah, but he's got that sort of struggle.
I think, like, Yeah, well, he starts morphing back, doesn't he? So he's there with the rest of the stuff. He's ready to like put himself into space because he knows that's what he's got to do. And then he morphs and goes off on his rampage again. So, like, even though, and also there is a question as to why he did it. It's very selfish motives to do
Well,
it.
he's obsessed. But by the time we meet him in that first episode, he's already been there a long time. He doesn't care that everyone's been killed off and like they haven't had any.
No,
he's like,
no, he doesn't care about getting away on time or anything.
this is my work. This is what I need to do, and he wants this whole power for for their society and everything. And then the Doctor, well, yeah, and I'm surprised actually that he got saved at the end. I thought he could have fell in the hole and that was it, done, and then that's your end of your scientist. But he came back, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I can't remember anything," and he's like.
He was like, "Oh, we're going to," and the Doctor diverted him onto another thing to look into instead, which I thought was clever.
Yeah, they could have just left him dead, and that's him. And he was the scientist that was obsessed and couldn't, took over. But it's nice to have that ending with him, as he's actually, he's all right. It wasn't any of his fault. I mean, he probably killed loads of people, but he doesn't remember it. So
it's very clever. Like, oh gosh, and the red eyes, that was very clever. None of them could find who it was. They kept saying it was the Doctor and Sarah, but it was him. So in that sense, I saw him more as than the red outline things. And a lot of the topics, I mean, like, they're very grown-up topics. They're very, like, there's a lot of science and things. And, all right, some of that might not be factual, but a lot of it comes from fact. I mean, we talk about, and not we personally, but antimatter is still discussed today, constantly making developments in it. When they were talking about it, it made me wonder whether they had scientists like advisors.
I'm not sure, actually. I don't think so. I think they're just really good.
As in to make sure the science was at least somewhat.
I'm not sure. I think they're more like, we want a story on a planet. We want it to be a bit like Jekyll and Hyde. Give us a Jekyll and Hyde story. Like last week, give us a Body Snatchers story. I think they're very like the horror film. They were all.
Yeah, it's very horror film. It's very horror film. The because I'm just waiting for Stranger Things Part 2 to come out. Go on.
We haven't done your alternative watch for. What do you recommend? Is this going to be? What do you recommend?
Hang on one sec. I need to go and get my remote, and I'll tell you what I'm watching.
Okay, listeners. While Sarah gets her remote, so this is, if you didn't like Planet of Evil and you're not a fan of this particular episode, Sarah is now going to recommend something alternative to watch this week.
So this week, sorry, my thing just started. This week, I've been watching James Acaster Repertoire on Netflix. And I've been catching up on Taskmaster on Channel 4.
There we go. Okay.
So, like, Taskmaster's great. I love Taskmaster. It's proper, sit back, easy watching. You can have a laugh or just, it's not difficult in any way. And the Repertoire from James Acaster, it's like a 4-part thing. I'm on the second one now, or maybe I finished the second one now, or maybe I'm starting the third. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's very funny and he's very clever.
Is it a drama, a comedy drama?
No, it's a comedy show that he did years ago now. And they're like 50-minute to an hour shows. They're not even an hour, actually. So he does 3 shows, and then the 4th one is about all 3. He starts going on these tangents about things that are funny, but you're like, where has this come from? What is this doing? Where is it going? And then when it all rounds in at the end, or when it rounds something back, and you're like, that's so clever.
So there we go. That's if I don't know. Planet of Evil. It's not one that I would always go back to, but you have to be in the right mood for it. You have to be in the mood for a sort of atmospheric watch in the dark. That's what I say.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I feel like it's average
like
for you.
Sit down easy street.
No,
watching. The cliffhangers are really good. I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed, I guess, maybe the concept of something because I could relate to it a little bit more in terms of like the story being this. It suddenly became very clear it was a Jekyll and Hyde sort of thing. And I was like, that's something that I understand as a concept, and therefore, despite all the science that was being thrown around and all this, the storyline concept I could follow and understand.
Okay. I feel like we've been quite serious today. We've been quite studious.
But it's more horror. It's not like there's no really silly moments in it at all.
Well, there's not that much humour, but you don't have, with the Doctor and Sarah here, the Doctor and Companion, you don't have your Susan or your screaming or your Polly.
You do a bit with Sarah. She did scream.
Oh, not only she only screams when she screams, you know it's serious. It's not like a Susan or if that jungle Susan
but
would
actually,
be.
it's because with Harry, you had with Sarah and Harry, you had a good fun, bantery sort of thing, and now that's gone. And with the Doctor's not unless they're together, but most of the story they're not, or if they are. They're just being accused of stuff and it's dealing with stuff. So I just think it's a very different thing in that way.
Well, we better get off this planet because Professor what's his name's going to come and get us otherwise.
Sure.
Yeah, but make sure there's nothing in your toffee tin when we go. Make sure it's empty of.
Oh, my what?
Your toffee tin.
Oh, my toffee tin. But you said my top TV. What are you talking about?
Make sure we.
They're just words.
Make sure we don't leave. We don't take anything with us, and then we can get a lift.
Oh, can I make another recommendation?
Oh, okay.
I went to see Joe Lycett last night, and it's a really good show. And I'm not going to ruin anything about it, but it's really funny and crude in places in a funny way, and heartwarming, and it's great.
There we go. Wow, we're full of recommendations.
Not just if you don't want to be in front of a TV, go out to your local theatre and find where that is.
There we are. Okay. Or stay in and watch Planet of Evil. That's what I say. Yeah, the ship's coming in now, so we better head off. So, next time. So this is where I get a bit. I need to look up what the next story is because I never get the order of this season right for some reason. I know all of the rest. Oh yeah, okay. Here's what I thought it was. So the next story is called. It's 4, and it's called Pyramids of Mars.
Pyramids of Mars.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There we are.
I literally have no idea what that could be about, other than pyramids on Mars.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? It's another classic. It's another fan favourite. In fact, this whole season is up there for a lot of people.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's been good so far. Let's put it that way. I think I preferred last season, but we're only 2 in, and my complaints are very minimal.
Well, that's what we like. Right. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 2WatchWho, and we will see you next week. Bye.
2 Watch Who.